Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Hey, back again. It is the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. This is episode 119. I am your humble host, Trek Lord of West Michigan, which is not a very humble expression, but I like it anyway. I'm Charlie Carden, and I am joined by the entirety of my awesome team. From my extreme left, my chief engineer on the USS Grand Petoskey, Mr. Peter Stein, Lieutenant Peter Stein. How are you today?
Doing all right.
Excellent. Middle center, we have acting captain / commander of the USS Rhapsody, Mr. Aaron Heminger. Aaron, good day to you.
Hello, everybody.
Good to have you back. I know we missed you in the last episode. And then we have our friend from across the pond, the Windy City Trekker, Jen Watson, tuning in. How are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning. All right. Yes, we often record on Sunday mornings because we're easy like that song goes. But anyway, great to be here. We've got a great show for you. We're doing our second selection of the Random Sode, which was selected by who picked this one?
The dice.
The dice picked it. Who was in charge?
I don't know. It wasn't.
I think this was me.
That was you. So, all right. So we'll reveal that in a moment, what that's going to be. And then we're going to start a new show. We're starting Star Trek Enterprise, the final season, and the first 6 episodes from that, which are amongst some of my absolute favorites of that series. So I'm very excited about that. But first and foremost, got to pay those bills in giving homage to the wonderful folks over on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon. If you visit patreon.com/SecretFriendsUnite, you can trial our wares for 7 days for free. Check out some of our great programs, including a show that my partner Todd Oxford and I do about comics called Spinnerack, and the Facts of Geek Life, which is a show that I do with everybody here except for Aaron, because we got to get you on the rotation. But we take a classic genre series, sometimes a non-genre series. We take a season of that show and we break out a few episodes and have a good time talking about it. Jen and I just embarked on doing a little bit more on Sequest, which will be coming up again. Peter and I are just about to start talking about the second season of Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, one of my absolute favorite series. And we have a good time. But on our Friends with Benefits level, our upper tier folks, we'd like to give thanks to Corey and HD, John Sedorf, the Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, Brendan Myers, and Matthew Keel. Our top tier folks are the BFFs, the Nias family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry, and our friend Missy Merchant. So thank you very much one more time. Patreon.com/SecretFriendsUnite. Give a visit. Do your 7 days, enjoy our wares, and if you like it, feel free to stick around because we would like to have you stick around. All right. Well, we have a week where we have some honest to God news that we had fun with this first story already just in our little group chat yesterday. But we're living in the era of merger talks. So-and-so's going to buy so-and-so. This one can't survive without having another one. And streaming is rife with it because I think, as my partner Todd over on our main show is fond of saying, streaming's a tough one. 5-10 years ago, everybody thought, oh my God, they're just going to be throwing money at us sideways. And while a lot of people do stream, it's not the, big dollars. It's not the traditional dollars that perhaps everybody, it's maybe not all it's cracked up to be as far as when it comes to the earnings, because all of these streamers are losing money. And so you're seeing the big mergers, you're seeing the Disney and the Hulu and rumors of Warner buying Paramount, which I hope is not going to come to pass. But the latest one has to do with, I'm sure I'll see this on the Colbert Report this week because he did one recently about another potential merger. But the good folks at Universal and Peacock in particular are looking to merge that service with Paramount Plus. And let's just get it out of the way, guys. Top 3 names for this new service. We'll start with Jen. Jen, what's your favorite?
My favorite or my least favorite?
You tell me.
The one that I heard earlier was cock mount. And that is the worst one. And you can censor that if you need to.
I don't censor. That's not allowed.
I feel like it ought to be. But
Too late.
There's no really good way to blend those names.
Oh my goodness. All right, Aaron, what's your favorite, least favorite?
I am 100% on board for Paracock.
Peter.
I'm just gonna go with Paramount, but pear like the fruit.
There you go.
I find it funny.
That's the most PG one that you can go with. I agree.
Competition to Apple.
Yes. Oh
Exactly.
my gosh, the Apple version.
And then if they come up with a show that stinks, then you have a rotten pear. So
all right.
Well, then you've got Pear Plus, and then Netflix can go off of Orange is the New Black.
Oh, I was going to say Orange has got to come into this at some point. So
there you go.
Bananas out of it.
Absolutely.
Banana Plus.
Banana Plus.
Banana Plus. I love it. All right. So, the classic cord cutter argument is like, oh, God, things are going to cost as much as cable. I'm not saving any money. The beauty of all these streamers is, yes, two of them merge. They're going to find a way to charge you more money. But the beauty of it is they are all, while many of them have a variety of options, with ads, without ads, annual, but almost all of them I think are monthly. So really, if you're like, hey, there's a new blah 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 show, I want to watch this show. Cool. It's on for 8 weeks. It's on for 6 weeks. All 8 episodes are being dropped in one. I'm going to have it for 1 month. So
you can rotate it.
Yeah, exactly. The only real danger is in the uninformed consumer, which isn't that really the danger of pretty much all of this. I can say, oh, I forgot I was signed up for that. You know what? Sign up for it for 30 days, do a free 1-week trial, put a note in the calendar on your phone, because that's the only way that I do anything in life. I don't know about you guys. It's the only way, and then cancel it. So you guys tell me, I don't, a detractor probably is not maybe for a franchise like Star Trek, which is established and we feel like it's going to move forward because it survived the slings and arrows of different ownership and being off the air and having different creative people in control. The real danger is
drought.
Yeah. There have been some pretty, there was a 10-year drought back in the day because we ignored the animated series, or at least I choose to. But if Todd was here, I'm sure he'd have something, very businessy to have say about it, that, this will mean less new content, yada, yada, yada. I get that, but the stuff isn't free, and there has to be revenue there to produce these programs. So I don't know, what are your guys' takes on mergers? Is it kind of makes never mind? Do you have passionate feelings about it? Jump in, please.
I feel that more often than not, the mergers are about the money and making the profit loss look less than what it really is for like investors and things like that. I think more than anything, that's what it's about, because if you're merging your profit margins for the end of the quarter or whatever, it doesn't look as bad when you're combining two different companies into one. And I think that's essentially the scam whenever we hear about these mergers.
Yeah. the scam-a-rooney. Any thoughts, Jen or Peter?
Mergers are mergers. As long as the stuff's still there, I don't really care that much.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Have discs. I don't care.
It is. We've had this conversation, and it's a school of thought that's out there. It all really comes back down to physical media. You know what I mean? I've been taking stock of the physical media I have. I've been putting. I finally got a 4K player last year, the year before that. So I've been slowly acquiring those discs, but only of the really core stuff like the Star Wars films, the Star Trek films, stuff that I'm going to be like, all right, well, when the apocalypse comes, and that's right, I'm not going to carry discs around with me if I'm running from the cordyceps monsters or the zombies or whatever. But if streaming goes kablooey, I still have the discs of the things that I really absolutely have to watch. So I agree with you.
All I ask for is my stuff still? Can I still watch the things I want to watch?
Mm-hmm.
And is the new stuff going to be good?
Right.
That's really all that I want. If it means that there's less new stuff because they want to put more, make it more quality, I'm all for that.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to survive one way or the other. So interesting. Again, it's a rumor, so who the hell knows? But if there are ongoing developments with that, you will hear it from us. So, all right, moving right along. We've known that Star Trek Discovery final season is coming out in April, but we now have an honest to goodness confirmation of when that's going to be. It will arrive on the eve of First Contact Day. First Contact Day being April the 5th. So that would be April the 4th, which is my wife's birthday. Yay! I'm sure that's how she wants to celebrate. But on Thursday, April the 4th, we will get the first 2 of the 10-episode season, which, again, Discovery previous seasons were 13 or 16 episodes. This 10-episode bump brings it more in line with other Star Trek shows and really kind of what's...
Season 4 was 10 episodes, too.
Was it really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really does bring it, obviously continues the trend of bringing it a little bit more in line with what you see, which is a 6 to 10 episode season and something that's streaming. So we have the majority of the original cast or the ongoing cast from season 4 returning. The main cast, we're getting the addition of Callum Keith Rennie, a.k.a. Cylon Model Number 4 from BSG, which Peter and I have been talking about, is joining the cast as a Vulcan captain named Rayner. We have a gentleman named Elias Tofexis as La'ak. I actually met him at Star Trek Las Vegas at one of the parties I went to last year. So the show was wrapped by that point, or was close to it. And then actress Eve Harlow as character named Maul. She'll actually be on the cruise, which it was, we were looking at the roster the other day, and April was like, "Who is Eve Harlow?" I'm like, "I think she's on Discovery," or I don't think now. Now I know, because it's my job to know. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to get that final season. I think the plot synopsis provided here does mention that the crew is sent to retrieve an 800-year-old Romulan vessel until the hidden artifact inside is stolen, leading to an epic chase, which we actually did see footage of at one of the cons last year, as I recall, or an epic chase of some kind. Meanwhile, Saru is offered the position of a lifetime, and Tilly's efforts to help pull her into Tilly's efforts to help pull her into a tangled web of secrecy. Well, that could be anything, but that's probably the first 15 minutes of the first episode. So there's a lot of adventures to come. So I know we all kind of land in different places when it comes to Discovery. It sounds like a better setup to me. It's not the kind of the monster or the MacGuffin of the week, which is what we got in all the other seasons. Really, season 2 it was the Red Angel. Season 3 it was Chasing the Burn. Season 4 it was the what was the thing, the DOS or the the designated market area, the very dangerous in marketing terms. So we don't have, at least from this description, kind of a super monster or a big boss like in a video game. I think that's refreshing, because doing lather, rinse, repeat, and just saying, "Hey, we got a new monster," is kind of a bummer. So I'm interested to see how this turns out. So Peter, you also not an enormous Discovery fan, but what do you think of the summary?
It seems interesting. I'm an 800-year-old Romulan ship makes me go, "Oh no, we have something from the 24th century. Mm-hmm. What are we dealing with now? Can we please leave the poor Romulans alone?" Yeah,
enough bad stuff happened.
They've just been kind of the whipping child as the villains for the last several iterations,
right?
And not very well. So it's like, could it be Thalaron radiation? Could we be dealing with, like, I don't know, Sela in a cryotube? I don't know.
Right.
But
he's back in the saddle. I'd love it.
I mean, I would love to see Sela back. That would be fun. But it's just one of those, like, 24th century Romulan ship that's somehow threatening everything.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, but I'm just like, I know a lot about the 24th century. What the heck is this?
Yeah, right. You're going to find out. Yeah. Aaron, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I've said many times before, I feel that Discovery has progressively gotten better over the course of time, and I enjoyed the last season. I have mixed feelings of going into the final season. I think they found their footing in the story that they're telling and everything, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. But at the same time, I've been reading a lot of the interviews with Jonathan Frakes, who did the finale for this season. Mm-hmm. And he's been very vocal about the fact that while they were filming the finale, they didn't know this was the end. So my concerns is how is that going to impact, the ending of the story? Is we going to feel satisfied with the ending? Is it going to be a little too cliffhangery, or is that going to carry on?
They did go back and
They went
add
for
some
reshoots.
stuff after
Yeah.
the fact.
Okay. That is true.
Fact.
Yeah. So it'll be curious to see if that maybe feels disjointed, we thought we patched together, but I mean, how much did they have to do and whatever. So that in itself is very interesting. So, for a season that will run for exactly 2 months, because we got the first 2 episodes up first and then 8 weeks to follow. So yeah, that I think there's no doubt that will be something to see. Yeah. So yeah, the end of the first the show that brought brought Star Trek back to TV, that resurrected the franchise, comes to an end. All things come to an end, good, bad, or indifferent, and that's what this is. So, well, good. Well, we will.
I like Discovery.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I do like Discovery. I think that it will be interesting to find out what the mystery is. Probably going to be, what is this thing? They might not know exactly what they're chasing for the course of the season, because there's always a mystery. It's not necessarily a monster, but it's a mystery. And I agree with Aaron in saying that they did find their footing, like most Star Trek shows do. It takes them about 3 seasons to figure out what it is they want to do and what they want to be. So that's all. I had other thoughts also, but that's...
Other thoughts to return at a later time. That works for me.
And I mean, we'll probably continue on Starfleet Academy whenever that starts up too. So I'm optimistic. I'm happy with where it ended. I do feel like the end of season 4 could have also been a series finale, where it did end with that.
Right. Good. Nice. Tied it up in a bow. No cliffhanger.
Yeah. But I'm excited for season 5.
Good deal. Awesome. All right. Well, obviously, we will jump into our, kind of biweekly breakdowns of 2 episodes at a time once we get there. But between then and now, we are rolling through our fun new segment, which is the Random Sode, chosen completely by chance. We think Peter picked this one, but we're not 100%. It doesn't really matter, because we're all here and we're all going to talk about it. So, Peter, would you like to read the episode name and then the super quick summary?
Super brief summary. All right. Yes, we are looking at TNG Season 6, Episode 24, Second Chances.
Yes.
Another transporter episode. The Enterprise finds a second Will Riker on a planet that he helped evacuate 8 years ago.
Can't have just one. He's the Pringles of Star Trek. Oh my God, there's an early episode title. All right, so Peter, do you want to start to walk us through your notes of the first part of this episode?
All right, so for Act 1, we just kind of have the Enterprise shows up and it's like, oh, look, we're visiting this planet that Will Riker was helping to, evacuate a while when he was on board the Potemkin. And so, it feels like your normal, like, oh, we're beaming down to a planet, blah, blah, blah. Although, of note, we do have first Riker in 10 forward, and we see him playing the trombone.
Oh, Nightbird. My note to that.
We see the Schadenfreude darkness of Troy come out here a little bit, which is great.
That was my note. I said, if you're going to be doing anything where you ask for request, don't have your ex-girlfriend there, because you're going to find some way to screw you, make you look stupid.
I just thought it was funny how it's like, any requests, Nightbird. Any other requests?
I'm sorry, what was that? Night Train? Okay, I know that one. Oh, no, Nightbird. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then Dr. Crusher's like, oh, why was that? And it's like, he's never been able to do it with his shit-eating grin. You're like,
you bitch.
My friends would totally do that to me, too. So I totally get it. But
that's the thing that friends do, though. Like,
you always give each other shit. So it's not something that I thought was, like, bad. It was just something that I was like, that's classic.
Yeah, it's very real. It's humanizing. Humanizing, for lack of a better. All right, so So I have a note as we're getting into, so Riker gets called to the bridge. That gets him out of playing Nightbird. He's like, yes. And he goes up to the bridge and there's Data. He's at one of the science stations in back. And so he has a line. He says, it'll be easier for us to beam down there now because the transporters are sufficiently more advanced than they were 8 years ago when you were beaming out. But earlier in the season, in the episode Relics, and tell me if I'm remembering this incorrectly, Geordi and the time-displaced Scotty are having conversations that transporters really haven't changed much in 100 years. Or maybe that was impulse engines. It was one of the two. But I'm like, oh, they had this huge breakthrough in the last 6 months. That's amazing. I thought that was weird.
Maybe the imaging sensors are better, but the buffers are all the same. I don't know.
They stopped at AutoZone and got a new buffer. I don't know. What did you say, Jen?
I said, to be fair, it was Scotty, and he,
intuitively grasps everything.
He's going to say whatever needs to be said to make it sound like it's working fine. So
right, maybe still Scotty had some brilliant idea and he improved the transporters in that 6 month period.
The other half of that,
he did.
Too. It's not just that he's talking, but Scotty, he wrote the book.
Yeah, he wrote the book. All right, Aaron, what happens next?
Okay, so you got me on Relic now. So,
no!
Let me remember what episode we're on.
They're about to beam down to the planet.
Beam down to the planet, and they find, hey, it's another Riker, and he has a different looking beard. And later on, he parts his hair the other way. So I'm like, oh, it really worked, though. I thought.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was great seeing the juxtaposition and the meaning of modern Riker versus his old counter stuff, and you can tell right away that there's some tension between the two of them.
There's a great line about that later between when Riker and Worf are talking about, or when Data and Worf are talking about. We'll get there.
Absolutely. So they bring the Riker duplicate up to the ship, check him out and find out what's going on. They find out that he's been stuck in the buffer for several years after that accident that they had back in the day on one of Riker's older missions. And it was there was a point where during the storm, when they were trying to beam Riker aboard, there was an error going on, and because of all the ionic interference and everything, that caused for a moment there were 2 pattern signatures of Riker at the same time.
It made a person. The transporter was his daddy. My daddy was a transporter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mama was a transporter, yeah.
Yep. Total freak accident, according to the logs. So one of the Riker duplicates ended up getting beamed aboard the rescue ships safely, and the other one ended up getting marooned back on the surface of the planet.
Womp womp. I had some notes about I keep calling him Other Riker because he doesn't get a name. He doesn't get a name until the end of the episode, so I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But I wrote his undergarments are really weird. He's wearing the top of the TNG jumpsuit, Operations Division. He's wearing a weird, dark green undershirt and gray pants. So there was nobody else on the station. He must have just raided somebody's closet or something to get all these bits and bobs. He still managed to cut his hair, and his beard isn't down to his knees. So I mean, he's a man of many talents. Great at grooming, but not really so great at accessorizing. But you don't really have to worry about that when nobody's around. So, Jen, what happens? We move forward. Troy volunteers to go talk to him because they want to see if they can get other Rikers help in executing the mission. So she goes to his quarters, and then what happens?
So she goes to his quarters, and he's like, Imsadi, and starts kissing her.
Baby.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Hang
exactly.
on.
Yeah.
Here's what happened.
Yeah, right.
Is we were supposed to meet on Risa, and that never happened. Not because we thought you were dead, but because, Commander Riker and I never actually met up. He decided that his career was more important because after this mission that abandoned you, well, not abandoned you because we didn't know you were there, but
right.
Commander Riker got a promotion right after that and decided that he was going to pursue his career and his dream of becoming captain earlier. And I had my own career. So we didn't see each other again until we were both posted on the Enterprise. And for the past 6 years, we've been good friends. And Duplicate Riker's like, okay, but I'm super not him, and
I'm super into you.
I still love you, and I've been dreaming of you for 8 years, and He's trying to kind of get back with her, and she doesn't say yes, and she doesn't say no. She just says good night.
Right. And you know what? And to his credit, he's like, he takes it okay. I think, he states his intention, but he's not like, it's not like Romeo and Juliet,
He's not pushy about it. He's just like, I'd like to pick up where we left off. And she's like, okay, cool. Good night. She doesn't give an answer one way or the other. And then he gives her this like cute scavenger hunt where
right.
She has to like go from one place to another and winds up in 10 forward. And he has this like, etching of the waterfall that they were at, and I
know he's nailing it. He's nailing all the slots.
He's very charming. I mean, so it's Riker. He's still doing what he can. So
definitely saw that Geordi wasn't happy about that, though.
Oh, that's right. When she goes in engineering, she's like, "What are you doing?" And she's reaching for a thing, and then he's like, Yeah.
I just thought that was a funny little background thing they did with Geordi being like, why is something on my warp core? What is this?
Would you wipe a booger on it? Knock it off. Get out of here. All right. So pinball back to Peter. So what happened? The date thing is over, and then we get Beverly and Troy in the gym again, not wearing those cool outfits from season 3, but whatever.
Oh, gosh. They're actually wearing the white bathrobe this time. So you have them start talking about the relationship or potential relationship, I guess.
Yeah.
And the whole situation with the two Rikers. And it's like, Beverly basically points out, it's like, well, he's not Will. So, take this how you will.
What? Take it how you will. That could be a better name for
it. And then Duplicate Riker walks in, and then Beverly's just, you see the whole like, hey, I'm going to stick you with this. You got to face it now. Bye.
Stick you with it. I got to think.
It's another great friend moment of like, Troy trolled Riker, and now Beverly's just like, hey, bye.
She wants Deanna to be happy.
It is. And it's just, I just think it's the funniest way to do that. And so then Duplicate Riker and Troy do she shows him some of the Makbara, and then he does some Tai Chi stuff, and then they end up doing other things on the floor.
Other things on the floor.
Smooching on the floor.
Rumpity-pumpity, as it were.
So we see that, and then I think after this is where we have Troy goes to talk to Commander Riker.
Right.
And we get the hilarious moment of like, I don't know what you feel about this. And he's like, flattered, I think.
Yeah, right. Maybe? You're still digging on me? And he gives her the whole, he'll do you dirty, but whatever. You're a big girl. But he makes a good point. She says, I think his line is, if he had gotten out of there and said to me, don't you think he would have done kind of the same stuff? Because it's true, because we see that a little bit later on. But now we get to the poker game. Aaron, tell me about the poker game.
Sorry, have trouble with my mute button there. The poker game, one of my all-time favorite scenes. Getting to see Riker, so to speak, face off against Riker.
The face off.
Yeah, and it's they both got the magic, they got the gift. They're playing and they're cleaning
the grift. Yes.
Yep. And it comes down to just that great 1 versus 1 moment where it's Riker versus Riker. Who's going to win, and it's such a great juxtaposition and metaphor for what Duplicate Riker is going through right now, trying to find his place in a world where he already exists and has essentially done it all. And it's just the building of that tension was so good. And just, you get to see Will facing down his duplicate and just say that great phrase, I've practiced that look in the mirror far too many times. I know when I'm bluffing, and he calls his bluff. And then he ends up, going all in, and he wins the pot. Actually, if I remember correctly, the duplicate ends up folding and getting up and storming off and going, why bother? He's always had the winning hand all along.
Yeah, right.
He just storms out.
I have always had this is the Austin Powers moment. Allow myself to introduce myself because he's just as upset with himself. So, all right. So that wraps up. Jen, now we see other Riker and Troy together. What's his big news?
So he is going to be leaving and has got a post on the USS Gandhi. So he's saying, would you like to come with me? We can be together again. And she's like, no, I have a career here. I'm not going to give that up just to go be with you. I want to try this, but I can't put my career on hold. And it's interesting because like Will and Deanna do have that in common where they're prioritizing their career over the relationship. It doesn't mean that they don't have feelings, but they have different things that Will and Deanna have the same things that they want out of their life, just in separate ways.
Right.
So there's really nothing saying that it wouldn't happen again. And it's that same prioritizing of his career that Will warned Deanna about earlier. So like he was right. But it does come down to her deciding to stay on the Enterprise. And he's like, well, if the situation were different, I would stay too. But like, there's another me here, and that's weird. So
totally.
We can't do that.
Most deaf. Yeah, exactly. So we get a third act that you would expect. They're back down on the planet. There's some great stunt work, a lot of tension. A bridge collapses. Will has to save other Riker. I did note that there was kind of a costume oddity in that there's that great exchange between Worf and Data, where Data says, "Hey, if you met a duplicate of yourself, how would you regard him? Or no, would you think you'd get along?" And he said, "No, I am not typically what people would describe easy to get along with." The Data goes, And
it's weird because during that scene, I'm like, Data, you kind of met a duplicate of yourself before here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you're right. I never even really thought, and his duplicate was straight up, evil villain.
I mean,
yeah. So
it's not exactly a duplicate because Lore's not.
And then you get a lot more, Datas when we get into Picard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I did note that Worf and Data standing side by side, their uniforms, which are essentially the same color, are slightly different. And I said, are these shipboard dry cleaners? Do you go to a different one on deck 7 than you go to on deck 2? I have no idea.
Worf needs to wash his more frequently.
I get, Klingons do have that peaty aroma. Don't forget that's how Bashir and O'Brien described him in DS9. So yeah, Jen, as you were describing, we get to the final scene where she, Will is packing up his stuff, which I'm like, what stuff? The guy doesn't know. I have a hairbrush. Oh, you see him packing. He actually puts a hairbrush away. So it's kind of like if you follow the show Jack Reacher over on Prime, he owns a toothbrush and that's his only possession. So there you go. The other Riker has a toothbrush, but she says, well, to echo what Jen said, she's going to stay put. She's not ready to give up her life, but we'll see where this goes. And then ultimately, we find out the character's fate later down the road didn't really go anywhere. But my note from the final scene, because Will shows up and he's gifting other Riker a trombone, who says, I'm going to go by the name Thomas, which is their middle name, which was a big reveal for all of us who didn't actually know what his middle name was. He was always William T. Riker. But obviously, when you have two characters that you don't want to film them all as photo doubles the entire time, when you shoot one of them from behind, it's obviously it's a stand-in actor. And I noticed in particular, as Thomas was walking out the door, you see the back of the head of the other stand-in, and his hairline is different, which I thought was hilarious. So back and forth. So yes. Eagle eye. That was something I noticed the first time for this viewing. So, and there we have it. So that's this is, being that I'm a huge Riker fan, I have always adored this episode. When I was in high school, one of my very oldest friends is a girl, as it were. I mean, we've known each other since we were 12. We're very close friends to this day. She and her husband, and April and I, are super close friends, but she was my first crush, and she was my first crush in high school. So this episode makes me think of that. We were never really together. I crushed on her. She didn't crush on me. So it's not exactly the same. But this episode always kind of makes me think of second chances. It's kind of weird. But for Riker and for Troy, I love this exploration. This is definitely one of my favorite TNGs. It really is. So if I was to toss a rating onto this is, despite some of the corny stuff like the bad photo duplicates and I thought the scavenger hunt was a little corny, but it still worked.
It was sweet.
It was. I would totally give this one an 8 out of 10. I really absolutely adored this episode. So, Peter, pinballing back to you. Where do you land with this episode?
I thoroughly enjoy this episode for, all of the friend messing with each other bits and all of that stuff. And that, the interestingness of, what if a version of a character didn't evolve past a certain point and then you bring them back into the present. It's just an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And so I would also probably put this around an 8. It's just a solid episode.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got some interesting concepts and it's got some pretty solid character moments. So
good deal. Rock and roll. Aaron, how about you?
Well, I'm also a huge Riker fan. Riker is the reason why I grew a full beard, because I had that same baby face problem. He's also the reason I learned to play the trombone.
Aww.
Yep. So
nice.
that was, yep.
Yeah.
And, can you play Nightbird?
No. I can play the trombone. I am terrible at it.
Wow, you're worse than Nightbird.
So you are
boy.
just like Riker.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoyed this episode. I love seeing the dichotomy between, his old self and his current self and that whole conflict. And I often put myself in that scenario and be like, what if I met my younger self? And I always come to the conclusion, I would just punch him in the face as hard as I could,
me too.
I mean?
Hardcore.
Yeah, but yeah, no, this is such a deceptively important episode too, because you have to look at it in the broader scheme of the fandom because it gets referenced so much and they come back to a lot, especially for scenarios like the whole Tuvix situation,
right?
Where they're like, well, why don't they just make a clone of Tuvix with the transporter? It's doable. Everyone keeps overlooking the fact that there were extraneous circumstances that led to this accident occurring in the first place. It's not something that they can just do,
right, willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, it keeps coming back and it's a good one. And I always wanted to see more of Thomas, like what happened to him afterwards. And I know we saw him in DS9 at a later point, but I always wanted to see more like what happened to him after. And, they came back to it in the books. I think they talked about him getting killed in like the penal colony. And then in the Star Trek Online, there was a mission that I think has since been phased out where you actually meet his child.
Oh my.
He had a kid and he was like a quest giver in the storyline.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that his legacy kind of continued, but I would have loved to see it a little bit more fleshed out at some point.
Interesting. All right, Jen, your rating before I go through a little bit of tips and trivia here. So go for it.
I would also give it an 8. I think it's a solid episode, like everyone else has been saying. It does bring up an interesting moral quandary, which I think that a lot of good Star Trek does, but it's not too heavy about it. There's lighter moments, there's more humorous moments, there's moments that touch on, relationships with each other, not just the romantic, but, some of the friendships too. I might have liked to see Tom dealing with the friendships that he might have needed to kind of either reintroduce himself or rekindle. And also the idea of, do you like yourself? And how does that relationship with yourself manifest when you have another version of you? And it's not his younger self, because Tom was down there for 8 years all by himself.
Right.
And it would have been interesting to see sort of more how that's affecting him too, because he talks to Deanna about this like maladaptive daydreaming that he's going through. Also, about this, like, I dreamed of you every night, and this is what kept me going. And
yikes, yeah.
Like, I don't know if I were Deanna, I might be a little creeped out by that. But
I would think so.
But it did keep him going. And maybe in a more modern show, this is something that would be explored a little bit more, the psychological ramifications of that, when we see this accident happen again on lower decks, it's taken a little bit more lightheartedly.
Right.
Because it's not 8 years, it's like 8 minutes or something.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, I think it addresses some things that you can choose to think about, or you can just say it's another lighthearted episode. It's however you want to deal with this, like Schrodinger's Riker thing, where there's, he's both I like that they make a point of saying that they're both the same person.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we've been following the original and this one's a copy. Like, they're both the original. So, yeah.
Right. Good stuff. Awesome. All right. Well, the big, just for sake of time, the big background bit that I remember from my Star Trek Next Generation companion, which is right out front. There it is. That's the red book on the end, which was the Bible when I was growing up. It was blue and then it was red, and I think the final edition was a darker color red. That's the middle one. Was that in the early stages of this episode, Jerry Taylor, co-creator of Star Trek Voyager, on the writing staff, considered killing off William Riker and having Thomas join the Enterprise D crew as his replacement, potentially taking Data's spot at Ops. That's what I remembered. He would have become the helmsman and Data became first officer. But Taylor is quoting saying that Thomas would have been operations officer. All right, so he would have been sitting in the front. He would have had a front row seat. Ron Moore thought we would have been bold and shocking and given fans something to chew over, but Rick Berman and Michael Piller thought it was too big of a change. And I kind of, not that I would go on record as saying I would agree with something Rick Berman said very often, because I think we all know he wasn't such a great guy. But his statement was basically, you're putting a character on the ship who's not experienced anything in the last 6 years and doesn't know anything of the characters. And also they were headed out of the series and into a film, and that would have really kind of chopped things up. Jonathan Frakes also quoted, one of my fondest memories of Second Chances is how I was able to find subtle differences between the two characters. And to this day, Marina always reminds me of that. She says, I like Thomas better. Ouch. We did get a great real life cameo by Dr. Mae Jemison, who is a honest to God African American astronaut, first one in space, as the transport officer, Lieutenant Palmer. That was pretty awesome. She credited Nichelle Nichols' role as Uhura from TOS as her inspiration for her career, which is one of the most wonderful things that Star Trek has done over the past almost 60 years across the world. So, that's a wrap. All right. So we will move on. We have a new random episode next time we come back, but we are taking a hiatus because, as I had mentioned, April and I are headed off on the Star Trek cruise. So that's going to mean we're going to skip a rotation. So we will be back in 30 days with our next one. April and I will invariably jump in the time in between into our little Star Trek The Cruise special. But yeah, this has been awesome. So good deal. Jen is going to leave us now and obviously rejoin us on the other side when we resume our episode 30 days from now. Jen, where do people find you out there?
I have a link tree, which is linktree.com/JenWatsonArt. There you will find links to all of my social media pages, my TeePublic t-shirt shop, my Etsy shop, and of course, my author page on Screen Rant, where I write on the Star Trek team.
Excellent. I love it. All right. We're going to take a quick pause, and then me and these two gentlemen will be back to talk about Star Trek Enterprise. So we'll be right back. All right. We're back, and it is time to get back on that long road from here to there with the Peter's like, oh, there's a road behind me. He's sitting on the bridge. Oh, did you look to make sure your background changed?
No, I was checking to make sure that like Trip wasn't sneaking up behind me.
Oh boy, I was gonna sing to you, but no, we're jumping into the first segment of the final season of Star Trek Enterprise, the second Star Trek program. Well, I guess it makes it the third because, they obviously quit making Star Trek the animated series. I don't know much about how that decision was made. But we'll say this is the second live action Star Trek series to be actually canceled, which happened at the end of this, I think, 24 episode season. But came on in for the 2004-2005 season with a cliffhanger. I was watching at the time, I was a regular engaged fan at this time. I was a regular adult out in the world doing regular adult job stuff. Peter, I think you've told me that you came to Voyager or you came to the show later on, or were you watching?
I did. I came to it around college. So I was 13 when this came out.
Oh my goodness. Just a baby. And Aaron, what about you? What's your Enterprise history?
Well, I didn't have cable when it first came out, so I didn't catch up with it until later on, probably college. And
okay,
I never watched all the episodes. I watched it kind of here and there.
Yeah,
but I did like it. I really enjoyed.
Gotcha.
The show.
Gotcha. Well, this will, being part of this, well, you'll at least be able to say, hey, I've watched the 4th season, depending on how much else you've watched. So, but yeah, all right. Well, we jump right in. I'll get us started. Episode 1 of the season is Stormfront. Director is Alan Croker. Alan Craker, excuse me. I heard his name plenty of times during the Delta Flyers podcast when the guys were talking about Voyager, because he directed many, many episodes of that show. Writer is Manny Cotto, who's a showrunner, the recently deceased Manny Cotto, unfortunately. Manny Cotto was also a showrunner on the Fox series 24, which I talk about all the time. I'm a huge fan of it, but he's somebody who shaped seasons of that. It might have been after this that he was a part of that, or contemporaneously. I can't exactly remember, but that's how I first got to know his name. And he's, at least in what I've read and in my personal feelings, he's somebody who really shaped, I think, the success of the narrative of this entire season, because Enterprise, certainly in the first couple of years, was very hit and miss, in my opinion. The 3rd season I felt was very, very strong, but I felt like this was a show that hit its stride right as it was getting into its last season, but it was too little too late. This is from October 2004. After destroying the Xindi weapon, which was the cliffhanger finale of season 3, which we talked about a long time ago. So go back in your catalog and you'll hear us talking about season 3 of Enterprise. Our heroes find themselves in the 20th century during World War II, but the Nazis are in control of the northeastern United States. Whoa! And this is a 2-parter, so I'll just go ahead and break that down. So I'll take this whole first chunk. As things move forward, Archer joins Silic, who we remember is the main Suliban bad guy that we've had since the 3rd episode, to stop the alien Nazis, restore the timeline, and end the temporal Cold War. So this 2-parter did just a ton of heavy lifting. You're taking the entirety of this temporal Cold War, which a lot of fans bitched about, like, oh my god, it's another. I never understood why people didn't like it. I like time travel shit just fine, and I don't
time travel stuff.
I don't feel like the temporal Cold War was this huge focus of the entire series. I thought it was just another wrinkle that it would come back. Oh, here's this, and it deepens the mystery, and then it goes away for a while and it comes back. But I love this episode. And they worked in a lot of that guy kind of actors, and a lot of people who are on shows on UPN, like the African-American woman who was the protagonist. I think she was on that show Girlfriends with actually Tracy Ellis Ross, who is Diana Ross's daughter. So there you go. Goes right back to Motown. But you get a lot of these like gangster dudes, like the one heavyset mob dude, I think was on The Sopranos, if I'm not mistaken. And I just thought it was a raw-working great story. You get to see the damaged Enterprise have to swoop in and save the day. And, it's flying through New York City with these, these Stukas, these German planes chasing it and shooting laser beams at it. Every part of this I thought was fantastic. This is one of the 2-parters, and don't be surprised if further on down the road we get back to this 2-parter, because I think I have on our Uber schedule one day in segment 2 we're just going to be talking about 2-parters, and so I know that we'll come back to this at some point because I absolutely love it.
It's a fantastic 2-parter. So when we get into kind of 2-part bonanza, but so I won't dig too terribly deep, but Aaron, your thoughts about this episode? Were you seeing it for the first time?
Yeah, actually, this was my first time seeing this.
Nice.
It was really good. I really enjoyed watching it, and again, I watched it with my wife, who she's a big fan of World War II and period pieces and stuff like that. So it's always a delight seeing the costumes and everything, and I really loved seeing the advancement of the Nazis into this what if alternative history scenario where they're marching into New York.
Oh God, that was super cool. And the cold open of the second segment, where it was a propaganda film about, and Hitler visited USA and blah blah blah. People were cheering him, and he gave a 4-hour speech. Reminded me of Donald Trump. Sorry, I know we don't talk politics, but given these long, crazy speeches, but just the total propaganda, and he's just talking about the unification of Germany and USA, and oh my goodness, that I thought was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant how they rolled that in.
Absolutely. It was very bold of them to do.
Yeah.
Some of it I was watching and, like seeing the Nazi flags on like the White House and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm kind of offended by this, but at the same time, I'm impressed that they were bold enough to show this stuff back, at this time and period.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a great way of showing what the stakes were in this situation. It's like all the potential things that this could go wrong, with history and everything. And I like seeing like the New York, the very tongue in cheek, Italian mafia type guys.
Yeah, right.
Taking on the Nazis in the streets. I thought, oh yeah, Nazis are in a lot of trouble now. It was great.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me
Gabagoo. This is the Sopranos. Yeah.
It kind of gave me the same amount of joy that I had like in our last show. I think we watched another World War II period piece where we got to see the Klingons killing the Nazis.
Yeah.
I had the same kind of joy with that warriors meeting and battle and everything. It was fantastic. And I really like the alien design in this. They had a very Nosferatu vampiric look to them.
Big red eyes. Yeah, they were pretty cool. Green blood that looked like high C because they shot the one guy. Yeah, exactly.
Just the sharpest cheeks I've ever seen.
I know. You cut glass with those cheeks. Quick sidebar in regards to the Killing Game, which we were just talking about, the Voyager holodeck episode. And this one, we get actor J. Paul Boehmer back as a practically identical Nazi character in the very... in just after the cold open when Archer is being transported in the Jeep. That's the guy that's chatting him up. Same actor.
I thought that was the same guy. I wasn't 100% sure on that.
Yep, that's him. And he also played the Borg child of the Doctor and Seven of Nine in I think it was season 6 episode called Drone. That a Borg clone was grown from the Doctor's mobile transmitter, some random dude who got poked by it, and then Borg nanoprobes turned into this guy. So I guess he's human perfection. Oh, I know that's a little scary. I don't know about that. All right, Peter, your thoughts?
I really, really enjoy this particular two-parter. As we said in the last episode, because I spoke high praises of the Killing Game, I love anything that does World War II stuff. It's just kind of a fun bit, where they can, do that sort of thing. I have to point out that this concept of an alternate history where the United States loses is then done again, not in Star Trek, but in this show called Man in the High Castle.
Oh, great show. Great show.
Asimov.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about how like they brought in like footage of Hitler doing things in the United States, it just reminded me of that.
Things. Exactly.
Making speeches and stuff. Yeah. So the only thing there is that they, nuked DC, so we never saw the White House.
Yeah. We'll pick somewhere else. Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah.
Man, that's a show. That's worth a rewatch because I don't think haven't seen it in quite a bit.
Yeah. But otherwise, like it's a fantastic episode. There's a lot of good stuff here. Silic has some really good moments in this episode. Especially when he and Archer have to work together, which is just hysterical.
Right.
They both don't like each other and they have to work with each other. And
it's an odd couple. Yeah.
So and then, the Enterprise doing its thing, first going down to San Francisco and getting shot by some P-38s, and then going to New York and getting shot by German planes with lasers.
Right. Like, the ship that's already fallen apart, due to what happened, back in season 3 when the big slug out. So, good stuff all across. So they do manage to, Archer does end the temporal Cold War. So that puts an end to the Suliban plotline. We don't see them again. We don't see Daniels again, who's the time traveling guy. And a big part of this is that he's dying, but Archer doing what it was revives him, and then the time zone, the timeline obviously resets, and our people are back home again, and they roll up on Earth, and they're like, "Welcome home!" And it's just moments after, obviously, the season 3 finale. So, I would almost argue that this is one of the better season openers that I can think of. And again, I say that with them, there have been a lot of absolutely great ones. The Way of the Warrior was an amazing open to the 4th season of DS9, or, the opening to the final season of DS9, or, so on and so forth. But yeah, this is one that I think kind of hit all the notes that I was really enthusiastic about. So I absolutely dug this one. So, well, cool. All right, Peter, jump us into episode 3.
Episode 3, Home. Again, directed by Alan Craker. Written by Mike Sussman. Aired October 22nd of 2004. Enterprise is welcomed home, as we saw in the end of the previous episode, after saving Earth, and the crew takes a much-needed vacation. Tucker and T'Pol visit Vulcan, where T'Pol must consider marriage to Koss, and Tucker gets to meet her mom.
Yeah.
Erica Hernandez becomes captain of the Columbia and renews her acquaintance with Archer. And Phlox encounters prejudice, and we see Reed beat people to shit on Earth.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So.
exactly. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, kind of a strange beat of an episode because you're taking all the, breakneck pace and high stakes of everything that's happened, not only in the previous 2 episodes, but the ongoing, nightmare that the crew dealt with in all of season 3. And now they're kind of getting back to reality. Hey, we're back home. Archer has to go through a super uncomfortable debriefing, in particular around the episode about, the Vulcans that were stuck in that that space anomaly with the Trellium D, and how they all went nuts, and it was the horror film episode back in season 3, and how they all tore themselves apart, and how everybody's like, well, you have actor Gary Graham, who again recently passed away, great dude. We met him at Star Trek Las Vegas as Ambassador Saval, just absolutely being so Vulcan-y to him, like, well, we really don't know what happened. We only have your word for it. And he's like, I'm a big hero guy. I shouldn't have put up with this crap. And then he connects with his would-be old girlfriend. But no, yeah, Erica Hernandez, who was an officer he served with, who's now going to head up the Columbia. And he's like, the Admiral says, take a couple of days off and get out of here. You need a break. And he goes climbing and takes her with her. And then the 2 of them end up hooking up. And we get Phlox doing the pufferfish thing, which is fun. Love to see different weird abilities of that dude. Just an overall fun episode. So I stole it away from you, Peter. What are your thoughts?
I generally like this episode. The stuff with Archer and Hernandez, I'm ambivalent to. It works, but that's not my favorite parts of the episode.
Yeah, it's kind of run of the mill. I get it. It's like
I really like Tucker and T'Pol on Vulcan because it's just Tucker trying to figure out what he's supposed to do is just hilarious.
Right. Like, and how he fits in because T'Pol is conflicted, and we met her fiance in the previous episode, and she's not really into him. But then he's like, well, you marry me, and your mom can get her job back because she got fired because of blah blah blah, this reason and that reason. So it's creating a little intrigue that we're going to get to.
Yeah, we get
to that.
You get name dropped with the Sirenites, I think, in this episode.
I don't know. They don't quite go that far, but
not the whole what's going on, but you get the concept that there's some sort of division.
Yeah,
in
right.
Vulcan.
So we get that Vulcan 3-parter, I think, probably in our next segment. But that was great. So in the end of it, she goes through with it, but she really doesn't want to, and he's really heartbroken. And even the mother is like, "Well, you gotta do what you gotta do." And then she's like, "Okay, it's too late." And then the episode ends. So yeah, it's tough stuff. So Aaron, it ends with a wedding. Aaron.
Yeah, I really like this episode. Had a lot of really great moments in it. I'm going to dissent from you guys a little bit in that I actually really like the Erica interaction with Archer from a writing perspective at the very least, because I liked how it was used to kind of show Archer's growth as a character. Because I really enjoyed the line where he's talking to her and he's like, I can't stand being around you because I look at you and I see myself 3 years ago.
Yeah, big time.
And now looking back, I want to feel the way that you are now, but I lost something out there. And I felt it. Yeah, I could see how it could definitely be a little bit tedious and derivative, but I felt it gave insight into where Archer is at the beginning of the season in terms of he's got all this PTSD from going through everything he did with the Xindi and surviving that, and to where he is now, and he wants to get back to being an explorer, and we see where now he's kind of learned this lesson of the age old saying, you got to walk softly but carry a big stick,
right?
And he's definitely lost a certain amount of innocence through everything that he's gone through, and for that reason, I really enjoyed seeing their interaction.
That's fair.
Right.
I love the stuff with Flax, seeing Flax deal with the xenophobia going on Earth. I mean, understandably, they've been through a traumatic event at the hands of aliens, and a lot of people just have a hard time seeing anything other than labels sometimes. And that's just a very human thing, not one of our better qualities.
No doubt,
but,
yeah.
It was definitely interesting getting to see that little bit of a struggle, even in this, idealized futuristic society that we've developed. That some of those things just don't go away, but that's what's great about humans, is that we're always working and struggling to become better than what we are, and that's what I love about Star Trek. And again, I was watching this episode with my wife, so I got some of her insights and everything. And she was very opinionated about the stuff on Vulcan with Trip and T'Pol. And we were watching the entire time, and we were just like, these are the most emotional Vulcans we have ever seen. Like watching T'Pol, like they're having this very quiet conversation back and forth, and my wife is just sitting there going like, oh my God, that was such an outburst. You
really used to be able to control yourself, but the way you flipped instead of flipping your right eyebrow, you flipped your left eyebrow, and I know what that really means. So I'm not going to brook that kind of disrespect in my own home. I just don't think so.
So we were having fun, like really reading into the Vulcans, and like all the subtle emotional cues, and then we're like, wow, the mom really loves Tucker. And then it gets to the part where this wedding is about to happen, and we're like, oh, the mom's gonna step in and do some mom stuff, and then it never happens.
Oh, come on, mama,
right? And then my wife is just screaming, T'Pol, how could you do that to Tucker?
Love.
It's a lot of fun.
Exciting and new. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, then the last three are actually a three-parter. So I'm going to jump in and at least do this reading, but then I'll toss it back to you guys. But we have a three-parter, which we get our first big actor from Star Trek The Next Generation playing a different role. So we actually get the return of Brent Spiner. Awesome dude. I've met him on a couple separate occasions. He's going to be on the cruise again, so I look forward to chatting with him, hopefully again within next week when we're on the cruise. But we have the three-parter of Borderland, Cold Station 12, and the Augments. So I'm going to try to summarize these all as one and the same. So Spiner's character is Dr. Eric Sung, an ancestor of Dr. Noonien Sung, who created data and lore and gave birth to all of these Sung type androids that we meet in TNG and Picard. Dr. Eric Sung reestablished his relationship with his genetically enhanced children, the Augments, who steal a Klingon bird of prey and kill its crew, including their captain, played by J.G. Hertzler, who we met at Grand Rapids Comic Con. Super cool guy. But Archer then gets gets Sung out of prison so that they can track these Augments down and kind of talk some reason into them, because they're standing on the precipice of starting a Klingon war. But in order to do that, in the first episode, they have to pass by Orion space, and the Orions kidnap a bunch of our crew, and we've got to get them back, which is kind of fun. I feel like the guy who was the Orion slave master was probably a WWE wrestler, because wrestling was real big on UPN at the time. I have a feeling if I looked into it, that's what that guy did, because he had that vibe about him. We have to go down, free our people from the Orions, and this is a nice taste of the Orions that we haven't gotten. I think we get the Orions twice in the season, and this is the first of the two. Yeah. And other than that, the Orions are in a lot of ways pretty much untouched going back to the original series. So this is kind of a fun exploration, as is the other episode that we get later in the season. But ultimately, when the Augments, what their mission is, and when they reteam with Sung, is to visit this Cold Station 12, which gets us into the second episode. This is a medical repository where this space station crew gets held hostage by the Augments as Sung and they work to obtain hundreds of unfertilized augment embryos from back in the eugenics wars in the hopes of creating a new race of augments. And so this is very tense, this big slug out that we see, which we can visit on as we go. But naturally, as you would expect, we find our way out of it. And Sung is with the augments, but eventually the head augment guy, whose name I'm forgetting, but maybe one of you guys can remember it as time goes by. They decide that he's a lousy human and we want to get rid of him. So they give him the boot, but they did liberate a pathogen from Cold Station 12, which can wipe out a Klingon colony and start the war that they're hoping for. Because what they really want is the Klingons and Earth to destroy each other so that they can essentially rule whatever the hell is left. But yes, clearly that doesn't work out. Our people are victorious, and Sung ends up back in prison, and his last line is, we'll talk about it later. We'll do that as the big wrap up. So, okay, I know I kind of bundled this all into one good go, so let's start with Peter. Your thoughts as we moved through this epic. We'll call it a movie, because this will probably be another one that we dig into later on down the road and kind of do a deep dive.
There's so much in season 4 that I just love, because as we've mentioned multiple times on this, even just this show, I'm a canonista. I love when things tie together. I love all the little knit things. It's like, oh, that's where that was, or that's a reference to this.
Right.
Not like the fan servicey stuff necessarily, but like just recognizing that this is one big cohesive universe. And just seeing like, here's the eugenics wars. There's leftovers of it. There's embryos that are waiting to be born on this station that could herald a new wars disaster.
Yeah, globally. Yeah, exactly. And this is still, let's not forget, 100 years before Space Seed, which is when, which is when, not chronologically, but production-wise, we meet Khan and his people who escaped from Earth in 1996, because we just watched that episode this week, because it was on this top 10 I've been telling you guys that I found top 10 greatest Trek episodes that April and I are watching for an article from Variety just to get us psyched up for the cruise. Number 10 was Space Seed, so we watch it like Friday night.
Yeah.
And it was like, yes,
there's a reference to Space Seed in one of these. I think it's the second one.
Yeah, they're talking about,
they're like, well, what about him?
Yeah.
We don't even know if he survived. Like, they don't actually name drop him, which is hilarious.
Right. The him. The Botany Bay, which they refer to, which is, of course, the ship that they took. No. They weren't even talking about the ship. They were talking about Botany Bay as what it was, a penal colony in Australia. I can't remember if they're talking. They said, well, there were rumors for years that he escaped and blah, blah, blah. And, of course, that's what actually happened.
They do speak about Khan himself, but just not by name. And then it's interesting how you have the costuming is definitely a harken back to Wrath of Khan, where even the haircut of Malik is clearly the exact same as Khan in Star Trek.
Let's face it, it was the 1990s. Think about how we were, I know you guys are younger than me, but I know I had a mullet in high school in the early 90s. So, hey, that was
that was the thing.
That was very much the thing. Thank God that was Billy Ray Cyrus, which hopefully you don't, that was Miley Cyrus's dad. Don't know if you knew that.
I do know who that is.
Yes, he had a magnificent mullet in the early 90s. Achy Breaky Heart. There you go. Achy Breaky Augments. Boom! New name of the episode. All right, carry on.
They do at that. But there's this whole exploration during this episode, basically of nature versus nurture. Soong claims that he tried to raise the augments in a more wholesome and humane manner, although based on how he describes everything else that he believes, cast that into great doubt.
Yeah, it seems a little iffy. And eventually they turn on him because it's kind of a leopard don't change its spots.
And he's not. Yeah, he's not an augment. He's not perfection, but they are. And so you have this whole there's a reason why augments, especially these particular ones, are not welcome in modern society, because they just can't adapt to live there.
They can't live with people that aren't like them.
We do see a couple that try a little bit. I forget her name, but the one who's with Malik for a while. Flip-flops from the various leaders.
She's kind of the I don't want to say the village bicycle, but because that's kind of a negative connotation. Persis, which I always made me think of Persis Kambata, who was, of course, Ilea in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. That's
perhaps that's part of where the name came from. Yeah, because a lot of them are supposed to be, that part of the world
right.
in origin, just based on the chronology of the eugenics wars.
Right.
But it's interesting how you have like a couple that try to like, hey, wait, maybe we're going too far. Maybe we're doing too much. Maybe we should like, we're perfect. What if we just step aside and let everyone else do their own stupid thing and we go to our own planet and be perfect in our little corner.
Right.
So you have that going on. So there's a little bit of attempted, maybe we're not as bad, but then like they take the full.
They're like, yeah,
we're going to rule or we're going to kill everyone. And so then they're like, we're going to go kill Klingons, which is a questionable decision in the first place.
It's talk about kind of writing checks your butt can't cash. I'm going to pick on the Klingons. It's going to be fine.
I mean, they would have been able to destroy the colony, which we do see later. Like there's some fallout from all of that because the Klingons see like how powerful the Augments are. Yeah, but if it's one ship against trying to wage war against the entire Klingon Empire, it doesn't matter how awesome or how superior your intellect is. You're going to lose eventually because they're just numbers. They just won't stop coming.
Exactly.
There's going to be some poor Klingon who's going to be like, it is my dream of glory to go murder Malak because he's a terrible person. And I want the honor, and he won't stop until he's gutted you. So,
exactly.
You're not going to win it.
That's going to work. Yeah. So, not the two-dimensional thinking, right? Like Khan and, the Mutara Nebula. So, anyway, Aaron, I feel bad. We've been monopolizing this conversation because it's this big 3-part epic. But again, you're seeing this for the first time, I assume, because you saw this crop of episodes kind of all in one chunk. How'd you feel about it?
I was really excited for it. I've also had the pleasure of meeting Brent Spiner. He's always been a favorite character actor of mine, and my wife was a huge fan of him as well. So I knew he was in these episodes, so I was excited about that going into that. Seeing him get to play another member of the Soong family line. Always delighted to see him in anything. We also had kind of an interesting experience. Just stepping into the real world in terms of the actual viewing experience. We actually had our chapter meeting for the USS Rhapsody earlier that day.
Yeah.
And a couple of the members, after we wrapped on the meeting and everything, decided they wanted to, kind of hang out for a little bit, and they ended up coming over to my house, and it turned into this big watch party for this huge 3-parter. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and my chief engineer got pizza and brought it over, and we ended up having this impromptu pizza party. And we were just watching these episodes, and it was really interesting because there was a lot of opportunity to have some discussions about a lot of the decisions and a lot of the morality of the episodes and everything like that. And I remember at one point we had to stop the episode because I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but one of the members was like, "Well, I don't understand why they don't just let them go." And I ended up pausing, and I'm like, there's an argument to be made there. Because
that's true.
In a perfect world, they're as much of victims as anybody in this because they didn't ask to be born, and they were kidnapped, and they're in the world now. The genie's out of the bottle. You can't put them back inside. You kind of are stuck with them now. And I'm like, and in a perfect world, you could go to them and say, okay, look, we can't undo what's been done. You have your lives now. I hear SETI Alpha 5 is nice this time.
Oh, man. So it will be for the next 100 years.
Right. Absolutely. So I said, yeah, but you got to take a step back, though, and you've got to look at the big picture situation, because it's not just a question of their freedom. It's a question of the fact that we have to deal with the consequences of their actions. And in this case, they've enraged the Klingons. The Klingons are never going to let them go, and they're going to blame us for it because they just see them as humans,
right.
And it's so we have a responsibility. Someone's got to answer for that. Otherwise it's a big political issue. So I'm like, one of the things that I was like, if I were in Archer's position, that's the thing I would have to consider is, someone's got to answer for this. We have to, do the diplomatic thing and bring them in. They deserve to stand trial at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we're watching the episode, we get to see their cruelty and their evil penchant for just total disregard for people that they view as lesser than them. And it progressively gets worse and worse through their actions and the choices they make. And the entire time I'm watching it, I'm like, see, this is why we can't just let them go. Like, we want to, because we're compassionate. And
right.
We want, we want people to have a chance to just live their lives and be who they want to be. But these are the choices that they're making. And we have to consider that, because now it's becoming more and more of a bigger threat, because now not only do we have the issue of the Klingons, but the issue of there's an entire species of these guys that they're trying to liberate. And, and now it's no longer a question of a couple of people, wanting their freedom to, they are a potential threat.
It's like
now.
800 of them now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's spiraling out of control. And I said, in a leadership position, when you're a captain in this thing, you always got to be thinking about the big picture. And it might not feel right at the time, to want to enforce justice because we want to be compassionate and everything. But at the same time, you got to keep that in mind, how these little things just blossom and grow and get worse and everything. And so it was great. I thought we had a really rewarding conversation, and
that's awesome. That's awesome. I like it. So to put a cap on this, the big line, so Soong's back in prison, and Archer, at least Soong thought all this time that all the notes I took were just destroyed, and he was like, nope, everything you've done is on lockdown to see if it could be used for the betterment of humanity. And he's like, see ya, and he walks away, leaves him in his cell, and Soong's talking to himself. He's like, well, enhancing humankind, that's obviously a bust. But thinking beyond that, what if I thought of like artificial intelligence, which is funny because now we're ever closer to that as we have AI proliferating in current society, and as Peter and I have talked about in regards to Battlestar Galactica, and all of that being probably more and more of a reality in a scary way. But he's like, what about artificial intelligence? I might not finish the work myself, but maybe my descendants will finish the work, which is funny because does he ever get out of prison and actually have any descendants? Or maybe he's already got a kid running out there, or maybe he's crazy Uncle Eric. You don't know. But he obviously has progeny that goes on and finishes this work, because that's how we get Data, and that's how we get Laura, and that's how we get all the androids that we end up seeing in Picard. So that's funny. So it's of these 6 that we watched, we really only have 3 to rate because we certainly can divvy up the 2, but I feel like a 2-parter is one, and I feel like the 3-parter is kind of one, because they're like little micro movies. And then we
season 4 has a bunch of arcs.
Yeah, a bunch of arcs. So that's gonna, it's gonna kind of vary our conversations as we go through here. But if we were, to do what we always do, which is go through and pick a favorite and a least favorite from the bunch, it's both easy and really difficult as far as I'm concerned. But Peter, why don't you go first? A favorite and a least favorite.
I'm going to have to go with Cold Station 12.
Okay.
If I have to pick one. I really like all of the stuff that's going on there, the back and forth between Archer and the Augments, how they get the Denobulans to help them sneak onto the station, which is just hilarious.
Yeah.
And all like where we start to see the cracks with Soong figuring out that the Augments might not be what he thinks they are.
Yeah.
So it's like all the revelations that's going on. So it's not the beginning of the story where we don't get a whole lot, and it's not the end of the story where we get like everything exploding. But there's a lot of like character building and everything going on in Cold Station 12, and there's a lot of interesting concepts there. That I just really, really like it. It pains me not to say Stormfront, but I really, really like Cold Station 12.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. All right, how about a least favorite then? Of the 3 or the 6, I guess you can split it out any way that you feel is the most appropriate. I figured it would be an easy one for you because you said you weren't super fond of episode 3, but
I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, it would be Home, just for the simple reason of there's some things that are like, a lot of it also has to do with just Stormfront and the Augment arc just being so great.
Right.
That if you have to pick one, 3 is just kind of just a little bit lower. And some of the Archer dealing with some of his PTSD I didn't enjoy. It's well written. I will agree with that. But I don't know. For me, some of Archer in the later seasons is a little harder to watch because I really liked Archer when he was more optimistic, and so he's struggling with it, and I get it. Yeah, but it's just sometimes it's harder for me to watch. Right. So. Because I like the character so much and it hurts.
Oh, I hear you. So. Yeah, I agree in a lot of ways. I would say home is probably a little bit lower stakes because you're dealing with, feelings and thoughts, and there's not some world explosion, because again, we've got to, we're playing for all the marbles in Stormfront. And then, in the Augments 3-parter, we're trying to, prevent the annihilation of potentially starting a war that could, kill everybody. And so, yeah, the stakes are lower, but in a lot of ways they're not nothing, because you're dealing with the heart and soul of critical relationships within the series. So, but other than that, I'm still going to go with Stormfront. I love it for the visceral thrill of the, seeing Nazis getting blown up and creepy aliens and what feels like a satisfactory conclusion to the whole temporal Cold War thing, which again, I think it gets a lot of hate for no good reason. Why people really don't like that show, I don't get, or like that component of the series, I don't get it. But I was always just really, very, very fond of that. So, Aaron, take us home. Favorite and least favorite.
Well, for favorite, I'm gonna have to say it's a toss up between Cold Station 12, for all the reasons Peter mentioned, or the 6th episode, The Augments. But I'm gonna go with the 6th episode, The Augments, for a few reasons. One being, I really enjoyed that opening where Archer is kind of trapped in the tube and he has got to make the great escape before the virus comes in. He gets this idea to blow a hole in the wall and
that was pretty sweet
into space and kind of deal with that decompression sickness and everything. And that whole sequence was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the whole episode kind of seeing the chicken comes home to roost for all these augments. And I just remember sitting back and watching the episode and being like, Malik, I'm laughing at the superior intelligence,
Hey-o. Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. And then the teaser of Data at the very end.
Yeah.
So that's for those reasons, that's my favorite one.
Gotcha.
And for least favorite, again, I'm gonna have to agree with Peter with you with Home, for the express and simple reason of DePaul did my boy Tucker dirty.
It was stone cold. Stone cold. Didn't like it. Yeah, it's hurtful. Yeah. Hurtful. Yeah. Yep. Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. Roxette, 1990. Anyway, yeah.
She did not go where her heart will take her.
Yes, she went right off the edge of the cliff on the Titanic, and Kate Winslet would have been very disappointed. But anyway, well, cool. All right, Star Trek Enterprise. That was the first segment. So, yeah, guys, we're taking a little vacation. Sorry, that's me. So we won't be back again together to talk about Star Trek and be published again for almost a month. So, I'd say someday, man. The Star Trek cruise is a wonderful experience, and if it comes into your life someday, if it's still around, if you have the opportunity, I would say go for it, because it's one of those, once you're on the ship, you got nothing else to worry about. You don't have to get anywhere. You don't have to worry about lines. It's just, particularly, going with a spouse, and it's just a great vacation. So, but April and I will come back and we'll publish an episode where we spend 20 minutes talking about it. So, so you can look forward to that. But other than that, everybody, thanks for joining us. Aaron, where do people find you out there in the world?
Well, we've got a link tree available. I'm primarily on Facebook with USS Rhapsody SFI chapter, and on YouTube. And you can also find my Ghostbusters group, Ghostbusters Michigan GBMI, on Facebook and YouTube.
Fantastic, Peter. What about you? I know you're the mystery. You're the shadow man.
Yeah, I'm not really on social media that much, but if you look for me, you can find me at Petrus Aquinas, usually on Discord, in like the Petoskey group. Right. You can also find me on ELH's Twitch and YouTube channels, where I'm currently game mastering a Star Trek Adventures game. And you can find me also behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior, a fan audio drama.
See, you're getting more and more stuff all the time. You're out there. You're doing it. I love it. Well, you can find me over on Threads and Instagram as C3Carpenter. Go ahead and spell it out. But the main bulk of my time is spent with my good crew members of the USS Grand Petoskey and Region 13 as part of Starfleet International. Both Peter and Aaron are part of that with me. But the Grand Petoskey, we're located here in West Michigan. We're one of the bigger chapters of SFI in the world. And again, I run Region 13, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. We've had some great explosive growth, in particular here in Michigan, in the last 5 years since I've been doing it. And I'm thrilled about that. If you're a Trekker within the sound of my voice in either one of those areas or even somewhere else, please visit sfi.org or even ussgrandpetoskey.com. Drop me a note, and I can help connect you with trekkers no matter where you live. So with that, I'm going to bid everybody adieu. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trekking.
Remember, everyone, 1,000 stars is a million maybes.
Peace and long life.
Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.